We're gonna mash the brake, mash the gas, and away we go.
Hi, welcome back to Car Juice. Today I'm going to be giving you guys the squeeze on the 2026 BMW iX60 xDrive. The iX has recently been redesigned for 2026, and I want to go ahead and start off from the trunk. So the first and foremost thing that you notice on the back end of the car, subtle change, you may only notice it if you're already driving an iX or you work for BMW like myself. We've got these new taillights here, which are full LED, but they got rid of the little white insignia here on the back. Really, that's the main difference. They've also changed up the rear diffuser, adding a little bit of a kind of like plastic diffuser that extends off the rear of the bumper. Not really too much is different, but it, is more or less kind of just like a life cycle impulse LCI kind of change you'd expect from BMW. I forgot to show you guys what was going on in the back here. It does still retain the same carbon fiber reinforced plastic kind of shell around the outside of the car. The coolest thing about the iX is actually the fact that most of the car is made with recycled materials, anything from the seat to the floor mats to the plastic that is going around the entire car. Everything in this car is designed purely for sustainability. It even uses brushed motors versus brushless motors, making it more efficient and more environmentally friendly than if you were to use brushless motors, which have rare earth metals and magnets and everything like that. So pretty cool that they've kept that consistent with the 2026 model. The only other thing that's different on the back of the car is you now have an xDrive 60 badge, because this thing is now featuring 536 horsepower up from 516 on all four of the quad electric motors. On the front end, you're going to see much of the same. Some small, minor tweaks without changing too much of the recipe that made this car great in the first place. First and foremost, the coolest part about the iX is the self-healing front grille. You can see that it's actually shifted away from having that honeycomb X pattern that we had on the previous generation. Now it's got kind of like a striking, slashing kind of motion that's kind of pulled away from the center of the car. I actually think that this looks more sporty. They made it less of a grille and more of kind of like a I don't want to say like a heartbeat, because that sounds really nerdy, but it kind of gives an impression of a heartbeat for me. One of the coolest things about the iX is that this is actually all a heated panel and it's self-healing. So if I was to say, for example, scratch the front end of this car or anything like that, it would actually self-heal by being parked out in the sun for just a couple of hours. Another thing that's kind of funny, whenever you open up the hood on the car, this is the only hood that you can actually open on it. The roundel just simply pops up, and that's where you're going to fill and refill your windshield washer fluid for the various purposes that it's used for. One of the purposes is actually the little camera cleaner on the front camera here. You got 4K cameras, 4 on the entire car, 1 on each of the mirror caps, and 1 on the rear bumper, as we've seen for the last, 2 decades or so. But the one here in the front is self-cleaning, as well as the one in the rear. There's a little nozzle that pops up and is going to clean the front of the camera. You're also going to find your radar sensor is integrated into this giant grille, which is pretty cool. Some other little changes that they made is they changed up the headlight design, so it's got a similar look to the 3 and 4 series. It's got the new kind of samurai sword, I like to call it, headlight projection. And this car is the sport model, so you're going to see that it has the more aggressive air curtains on either side of the front grille, so directing air down the side of the car. Another thing that's really cool about the iX is that this thing actually has a lower drag coefficient than our supercar type Halo car i8 that we had back just a few years ago. Let's go ahead and check out the side of the car. But before we do, I do want to show you guys one last thing that's pretty cool. So the iX actually has laminated glass here on the front, so you can see it's got a bit of a blue tinge to it. That's to reduce overall wind noise and overall cabin noise, making this thing very smooth and much quieter on the interstate. That's also contributed to the fact that the iX actually won Best Sound System in the entire automotive industry for, I think, like 3 years in a row with the Bowers & Wilkins sound system. Really, really nice. This one doesn't have it, but if you guys have a BMW dealer near you, just go sit in one if it has the Bowers & Wilkins sound system. You will not be disappointed. In the back seat of the car, you're gonna find similar space to a BMW X5 or a Honda Pilot. You know, typical mid-size back seat for a family car. Very, very reasonable. You could totally use this on a day-to-day standpoint, especially if you have young kids. My manager actually has one of these and he transports his whole family in it without really much need for, you know, switching out things too much. Decent space if you have like a baby seat in the back. I've got probably 5-6 inches of headroom in the back of the car, plenty of space in the headroom area. And then you can see I've got almost 1.5 feet, I would say, between me and the driver's seat. So even sitting behind a 6'3" driver, I'm probably still gonna have anywhere from around 5 to 8 inches or so of rear legroom. Everything in the back seat is pretty nice. You do have optional climate controls that you can get on the iX as well, such as rear heated seats, a 4-zone climate section, so I can actually individually change my own temperature on my quarter of the car. And these seats are decently comfortable as well. These are perforated Sensitech seats or Sensifin seats. It's all generally kind of the same, but they're pretty comfortable and they've been wearing very, very well on the other models that we have. Everything in the back of this car is also pretty plush. I like that the door cards actually have a soft touch finish on all of the door speaker covers and everything cool like that. And whenever you're looking at the side profile of the car, you've got this cool honeycomb finish similar to what you have in the trunk. Showing you a little bit closer, we do also have our travel and comfort system in the back of the car. You can actually slide this up and down and add iPad mounts, and then you have a USB Type-C here in the center. Don't have a transmission tunnel, so you could comfortably fit 3 adults in the back of the car because of that extra gained space. Also on the side of the doors, a emergency release. You don't want to be using this on a day-to-day standpoint, but if the door or the battery ever turns off, be able to get out with that. Another nice thing too, if you spend a lot of time in the back seat, you will find very, very happily that there is your own vent control. So really the climate stays pretty reasonable in the back seat of the iX. The driver's seat of the iX is also very comfortable, just like the back is. So the dashboard is like a synthetic fake leather material, which is pretty nice. Got a flat bottom design with gold outlays on the side of the steering wheel. And if you get the M Sport model, you're gonna have a sport kind of silver line there in the center, making this thing a little bit kind of sportier. On the door card, you're gonna find that the side of the door card does have the same material that the seats are made out of. So you're going to have a stitched material on the side, more gold accents that go along the side, and then just like the back seat, the doors are fully electronic. The seat control settings are all on the door of the car, and the seats are 14-way adjustable, so very, very adjustable if you needed to do anything. And then you have a decently sized cup holder here on the door. I've got a large Nalgene, and it can fit inside of the door compartment just fine. With these seats have an additional massage function, so you have massage seats on the iX. Heated and ventilated are also optional. Continuing on in the interior, I want to show you guys what's going on the dashboard. So it appears as though that they have changed the interior setup a little bit between the 23 model. So you've got the iDrive 8.5 operating system in the center, which is pretty easy to use. You've got all of your different apps and everything like that. The biggest differences between a 2023 model and a 2026 model are going to be the fact that you can easily access all of your ventilated seats, and heated steering wheel options just by clicking one button here. You don't have to navigate through a confusing menu. And then your climate control is a little bit easier to use than what was previously available. Tons of cool features on iDrive 9. There are a lot of good videos on YouTube. One feature that I absolutely love is the drive recorder. So this car is capable of actually recording 40 seconds before an accident and 40 seconds after an accident, which makes it absolutely amazing to have if you're somebody who is, you know, just likes to have that extra step of protection and you don't want to have an ugly dash cam sitting up on the dashboard. Definitely would recommend ordering that if you're going to get one from the factory. Speaking of ordering, the MSRP did increase by about $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 or so from the previous year, but you are getting that additional 20 horsepower and about an extra 30 miles of range. So this one with a full charge is going to have a 340 mile range versus the 305 to 310 on the previous generation. This one has the Drive Assist Professional package, so it can do hands-free self-driving, premium package, climate comfort, which gets you the front and rear ventilated seats, And then also a couple of other cool options such as wheels and the multifunction seats, which get you access to the massaging. Leading the total MSRP to this car, as tested, $98,825. The center console has remained largely unchanged for 2026, but you do still have the access to a little phone pass-through here. If you have an Android phone, as soon as you put your phone in, it will automatically pair you through Android Auto, which is very cool. And then below that, you have a handy-dandy wireless charger with a little fan that blows cool air on the back of your phone so it doesn't overheat. You can also pass 2 USB Type-Cs right up to your phone in the little caddy for it, making it pretty easy. I think that you'll be using this more frequently because unfortunately on the 2026, they've gotten rid of the second key. You only get one key whenever you order a new BMW now on the new iXs, and as new models come out, they're gonna be only doing one key. I hope that this doesn't stick around because it is an absolute nightmare if you lose a key and all this kind of stuff. Yes, you can use your phone as a key. Tesla did this all first, but I just don't see, the key can't cost that much. I just would really hope that we can continue to ship new cars with keys, especially if you're paying $100,000 for a new car. It should come with 2 keys. But that's everything that I have as far as the interior of the car goes. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put one of you guys up here on the roof and then put another version of you guys somewhere else in the car, and we're gonna take this thing on a bit of a spin. All right, so in the driver's seat of the BMW iX, you're gonna find yourself in a pretty decent cabin. I say that in every one of my reviews whenever I start the car on the driving section. I don't know why, but generally I just feel like modern cars are pretty good. Just getting sport mode activated so that we can get the climate control going again. And then we're gonna turn this down as low as possible. Very nice. Okay, cool. So yeah, in the driver's seat, you're gonna find yourself in a pretty decent cabin. Overall, I would still recommend probably going for the higher tier leathers. The higher tier leathers in this car are stained with olive oils, which is pretty cool. So even those are natural and kind of more environmentally friendly than the other ones. But I just like how the leather feels. It's a little bit more breathable than the Sensitech or the synthetic material that we have. So that's just my 2 cents, but the driving position is good. The overall cabin comfort on the iX is like second to none. It's so quiet, smooth. The material, the fit and finish on everything, it's just good. I like the inside of this car quite a bit. One other thing that I forgot to mention is the sunroof is full glass on this car, and it is actually can be translucent and transparent. So pretty nice to have if you are going to, you know, if you're somebody that likes a sunroof. Unfortunately, the sunroof doesn't open on this car, but you know, at least it's pretty high quality and you can change it up and everything like that. It's also really cool to show your friends because it plays a cool little tone whenever you change from the translucent to the transparent, and just kind of nice to have. It uses an electrochromatic filter in order to select for if you want it to be either transparent or translucent. Pretty sweet stuff. Not gonna ramble about it too much. But the horsepower and torque on this car, torque actually remained the exact same from the iX50 to the iX60 at 564 foot-pounds of torque, which is a ton, as well as the 0 to 60 stayed the same at 4.4 seconds. I believe that they added the extra horsepower to compensate for the extra weight of the batteries because they've added 2 kilowatt hours to the battery. So the old iX had 111 kilowatt hours, the new one has 113. And with that extra 536 horsepower, 0 to 60 stayed right the same at that 4.4 seconds. For a daily driver, this thing is more power and it's quicker than anybody actually needs on a typical road vehicle. This one doesn't have the sounds turned on, just I'd find them a little bit distracting, but they're cool. They're actually extraordinarily cool. All of the sounds in BMW's electric cars are actually designed by Hans Zimmer, a famous composer, which is very, very cool. And as you switch into different drive modes, you're gonna have different sounds that play as you're driving around. Also, if you guys are still loving this video, make sure that you leave a like on it and consider hitting that subscribe button. I'm actually gonna have a video coming out on the iX45 xDrive in about a week or two. So if you wanna see that, leave a comment down below and stay subscribed on the channel, and you guys will be informed whenever that new car comes in. But overall, the heads-up display, ease of use on all the features inside of the car, and the power is pretty darn good. The only thing that I think the iX is probably lacking on is whenever you are dealing with like a snow tire setup. This thing is going to be a little bit kind of rough if you choose to do the 22-inch wheels. They do have a square setup. This one with the 22-inch wheels comes with summer tires, 275 setup square with a 40mm sidewall, and overall a decently comfortable tire without too much road noise for your summer driving, but you would probably want to look into doing winter tires. Another thing that is kind of cool, the iX and all electric vehicles for that matter are able to check and keep up with what's happening on the traction situation for each of the wheels a little bit more accurate, but unfortunately they cut power, and unlike a gas car, you're not going to be able to push through if you lose traction. The car is actually going to cut power, resulting in a little bit of a rougher situation unless if you have snow chains. So if you live in the Midwest, that is probably a consideration you should take into account. If you live in California or somewhere where you don't need winter tires, then you can completely ignore that part of the video. The last technology that I want to touch on is some of the heating and cooling capacities that this car has. So what's the iX is so cool and is one of my favorite things about the car is the fact that you have basically like radiators that run through the inside of the vehicle. So you've got a completely different heating and cooling setup, both for the heated seats and for the dashboard. So you can get a radiant heating package where the dashboard will actually heat up and use that to heat the cabin instead of using an inefficient blower motor to get the cabin up to temperature. So pretty cool stuff there. And then also the heated seats. I don't know what's different necessarily on those. I know that they're more efficient though than a typical old school heated seat with the chromatic wire that gets hot, and that's how your seat warms up. But yeah, guys, so that is where I'm actually going to go ahead and end off today's video. Hopefully you guys learned something. If you guys want me to do a full build walkthrough as a BMW client advisor and post that on my channel, let me know. I've been considering and thinking about different ways to produce different content, but I'm not sure what you guys want to see. So let me know what you guys want to see in the comments below, and I will catch you guys in the next video.